Welcome, everybody, to Krystal, Kyle, and Friends. I am here with Krystal. My name is Kyle, hence the name, Krystal, Kyle, and Friends.
Yes, all of you are the friends, at least the ones of you who have subscribed on Substack.
So today we'll be talking to Will Menaker of Chapo Trap House, one of my favorite podcasts, if I don't say so myself. Enjoy listening to Chapo, especially on those long drives from New York to D.C.
Yeah, smart, quick, funny.
Yeah, they have great rapport, those guys.
Mm-hmm.
They really do.
That's a rare thing, too. Like, it takes some special alchemy to get that kind of chemistry going.
Yeah, and they were fellow Bernie bros during the era.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we were sort of leading the charge. You remember when Jacobin wrote that piece about me? There was a line in there that was like, they didn't mean to take a shot at Chapo, but it kind of was.
No, I don't remember.
Okay, well, in the piece.
I mean, I remember the piece, but I don't remember the line.
The piece, they were like, he's got triple the size audience of Chapo. I remember reading that going, I like those guys. I hope they don't read this. I feel bad. But anyway, and by the way, I don't even know if that's true.
Yeah,
maybe at the time it was
true.
true.
What metric that is.
Yeah, I mean, they don't do.
If they're just looking at YouTube.
They don't do YouTube. They don't do just YouTube, right? Like they mostly are just a podcast, and so it's apples to orange comparison anyway.
You're putting
me
in an awkward position here because I don't want to be like, actually, babe, I think their audience is probably bigger.
It probably is, yeah. When you go to their, I don't know what their numbers are on like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever, but I'm sure it's ridiculous.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, all right. So before we get into that, I want to talk a little bit about the whole Andrew Tate thing. So everybody knows the backstory by now. Andrew Tate arrested in Romania. The charges are like human trafficking along with potentially rape. A lot of yikesy stuff, if you ask me. A lot of yikesy stuff going on there. And of course, he's going down swinging. So the Matrix is coming to get me, bro. Keanu Reeves is at my doorstep, bro. And it's just sort of it's fun. It's been funny watching the same people who like talked about Epstein nonstop. Which, by the way, good. Like you should. That's the one that's serious.
Right.
But to go from that, like, bro, I care about stopping sexual abuse, bro, and then in the next breath they're like, Andrew Tate's innocent.
Right.
He's totally innocent. Same people who cry all the time about groomers, the LGBTQ groomers, are now defending top groomer.
Not even
top groomer.
Yeah, and not even being agnostic about it.
Right. And so
like you could say, okay, he's, innocent until proven guilty. We'll see what they say, whatever. But
so I used to believe that. Mm-hmm. And in fact, in my first video discussing this case.
Yeah, you were very fair to him.
The argument I made was like, look, if you want to say, hey, let the process play out, we don't know what the facts are yet, and then make a decision. But right now I'm going to say I'm agnostic and we'll see where this goes. I thought that was a fair position, and it's also a fair position to say there's already a decent amount of evidence, so I think he's guilty. Those were the only fair positions in my opinion. Anybody who's doing the hard, like, no way, bro, no way. It's like, okay, you're being silly. But I am retracting that segment that I did. Well, I'm not actually retracting it. It's going to stay up, of course. But like, my argument.
You're no longer agnostic.
No. Because I've seen all the evidence. And the evidence is Andrew Tate from his own mouth. And Andrew Tate, I mean, he may as well have like tattooed on his fucking forehead like, I'm a criminal and a sex pest. It's a big tattoo. But he might as well have done it. So anyway, we got a video. So there's this YouTube channel, guy's a lawyer, and he's going to go through the video of Andrew Tate and sort of explain basic things. Take a look.
These are his words, not my words. And I'm not going to take it out of context.
You're effectively taking girls, teaching them how to make unlimited money from home, and then making sure they give it all to you.
So you're making sure that you're teaching girls how to make a shit ton of money. Right off the bat, he tells you his main goal is to have them work for him and him get all the money.
Then I realized I had about 5 girlfriends, all smoking hot, and females are an asset. Why don't you work for me so we spend more time together? Work for you doing what? So I'll have a webcam business. Oh, I don't want to do that. So, okay, I know you don't want to do that, but listen, come, let's have a meeting. Let's just talk about it. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. Fine. But let me explain it to you properly. In fact, I'll bring one of the girls who works for me. Your bottom bitch, the new girl, you go out for fucking a nice dinner. Your bottom bitch is the one who does the selling. You don't do the selling. The girl has to hear it from a girl. And this is where your bottom bitch has to be trained. That's why I said it's so important to have a good first girl.
Remember Ghislaine Maxwell? That was the girl that recruited for Jeffrey Epstein. Almost identical to what he's talking about here.
I had a separate phone with all my girls' guys in that phone, and I kept control of it. Don't let your girl have this, because if your girl ever runs off and leaves you, you don't want her to have an address book of all the guys she can get money from.
Another aspect of control. You don't want her to have your client list because if she has your client list, she can leave you. So you've got to restrict her information. It's a systematic method of control to control these women.
You want her to leave and go, well, I don't know the account. I don't have the password to the account. I've never set it up before. I don't know how the banking works. I don't have any of my guys' phone numbers. I have nothing. And that's why they don't want to leave, because they're like, oh, well, he has everything. I need him. I have to stay with him. He has everything. It's important. I'm telling you, it's a very important element, that control.
It's a very important element, that control.
And they will leave if you don't have every aspect under control. Tax is also another important element for controlling your woman. You're not going to pay anybody tax because you're getting paid in Bitcoin. You need to tell your girl that you're paying the tax, because girls are lazy and girls are stupid and girls don't understand how taxes work. And you're like, oh, okay, yeah, we've made this much money, but I'm going to pay the tax to make sure we don't get in trouble. Now that allows you to do two things. One, it's another control element.
See how that control is a recurring theme over and over and over again?
If I do it alone, I have to deal with taxes. Taxes are complicated. The control element.
And he doesn't have respect for these women at all because he thinks they're stupid.
It allows you to pay her a smaller percentage. So I used to pay my girls 30%. So for every $10,000 they made, I'd give them 3 and I'd keep 7. They thought they were on 50%. And I said that the disparity is because of taxes. If they say, why is it 50-50? I'm the one who knows what he's doing. I'm the one with the knowledge. I'm the da-da-da-da-da-da. Shut the fuck up. Go online. Print out some tax forms. I used to do this all the time. I used to print out some random tax forms and say, yeah, sign here and sign this. What is it? It's for the tax. You want to pay the tax or not? Throw them away afterwards. But they think something's happening. Something real's happening. Nothing's happening besides me getting rich, bitch.
Nothing's happening except for me getting rich, bitch. That's what he just said. So he's taking another 20% of what would have been their earnings, saying he's paying taxes, but he's not paying taxes. His words, that's fraud. Force, fraud, or coercion.
Krystal, your thoughts?
I mean, what they are accusing him, Romanian authorities, of doing is using what they call the lover boy method, where you essentially like have a girl that you tell her you love her and this is your girlfriend and you take her out to fancy meals or whatever. And then ultimately you coerce her into this like cam porn operation that he is running. And he just literally describes the whole thing right there. I presume this is from his like Hustlers University thing, which is also another total like fraud and scam.
Yes, it is. There's also a clip, and Griff was showing it to us before. It's him on the Fresh and Fit podcast where he's also describing in a decent amount of detail like what he does. And it's amazing because this is like somebody who thinks there's zero consequences for their actions. Like, okay, I think that guy did a phenomenal job of breaking it down and explaining like what was going on there. But
yeah,
let me bring this up to anybody who might be like, no, I still don't see it or whatever. It's not like sex trafficking or sex crimes always comes with like, we put somebody in chains and we put them in a basement and we don't feed them or whatever. No, what he described there, it's a system of domination, coercion, and pacification. And he explained it in great detail. Also, there, people have talked about how he took their passports. So it's like, you can't really go. There were also allegations of rape. And we learned just the other day that he was arrested in 2015 in the UK on suspicion of sexual assault. You saw there he described basically, well, you don't have to pay taxes because it's Bitcoin. And it's like, no, that's not how it works.
Pay you in Bitcoin. That should be fraud to start with, by the way.
And then also, I like how after he shows that he doesn't know how taxes work, he goes, girls don't know how taxes work.
Right.
Like, what kind of, like, for a sentence like that to come out of anybody's mouth over the age of, like, 10, girls don't know how taxes work. Like, what, everyone? There's not a single woman that knows how taxes work? Like, what are you talking about?
A lot of female accounts out there, by the way. I mean, I also like how he doesn't even really try to mask it. I mean, he says outright that if they ask about the money, just say you're paying their taxes. Because originally you're going to tell them that it's going to be 50-50 split. But it's actually only going to be 70-30. And that extra 20% that you're stealing from her, you're going to say that's taxes, print out some tax forms, have her sign it. She'll think something's happening and you're just taking care of it for her. So, I mean, he's just outright admitting the lie, the fraud, all of it. And then the levels of manipulation and control are so gross and so disturbing, have so many echoes in like abusive relationships of all sorts.
Sociopathic.
Yeah, I mean, the layers that he's thought about in terms of how to control this person, how to manipulate this person's emotions, how to bring them into a webcam business that they had no interest in. I mean, that's the other part is he's like, she might say, I don't want to. And you're like, okay, that's fine. Just come over so I can explain it to you properly. And if you don't want to, you don't have to. The part about, and I thought
Ghislaine Maxwell comparison was spot on.
Spot on. That's exactly was Ghislaine's role in the whole Jeffrey Epstein sex ring, as she would gain these girls' trust. She would initiate them into this whole disgusting criminal world. And then she was the one who could gain their trust and recruit them into it and coerce them and manipulate them. And it's the same thing. He's saying, use your, what did he say? Like your bottom bitch? Is that what he said?
That's what he said, yeah. Bottom bitch.
Right. Use your bottom bitch. And she's the one who's going to do the selling. And that's why it's so important that your first girl is so good, so she can be trained into how to bring the other girls ultimately in. So he lays it all out here. And again, it's not like he's just talking here. This is precisely what Romanian authorities are now alleging that he was doing in real life.
They're just going to play the video in court. That's what happened with Alex Jones. They just played video of him saying the shit.
Well, and here's the other thing is he also has said outright, the 40%, I think he said, of the reason I'm moving to Romania is because they have lesser rape laws.
I have
or something
the quote
like
right
that.
here.
Yeah.
This is from Vox. Tate once said that he moved from the UK to Romania because, quote, rape laws are more lenient there.
Right. Now, I think he goes on to say, I'm not a rapist, but I just like the idea of being able to do whatever I want to do. And he's also said women are partially responsible for being raped. So it's a real winner here.
And I think, okay, the most important point is there are some people out there who sincerely believe, and they say this, they're like, oh, this guy, he's threatening the establishment and the elites, bro. That's why they're coming after him. He is the establishment. He is the elitist. Mm-hmm. He's a multimillionaire who's flexing online and has made his whole persona about not just misogyny and sexism, but also consumerism and capitalism. That's his whole thing. Wearing the fucking Versace robe, smoking the cigar, responding to Greta Thunberg.
Luxury vehicles.
Gassing up his Bugatti, and he has 33 fucking cars.
Now reportedly seized.
This guy is not in any sense anti-establishment.
Right.
He is the establishment. He just overreached, got a little bit too big for his britches, which, again, sounds a little bit like Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah.
I mean, the comparisons are astonishing. And we might find out that some of these women, you never know, maybe were underage. You might find that out. We'll see. But even if not, it's still crimes on top of crimes within crimes.
And the other thing I don't understand about it is, like, you're rich now. Like, you have your whole other pyramid scam that's netting you plenty of money. You've got whatever your whole...
Which, by the way, that shouldn't be allowed either.
That should be...
Crack down on that shit, too.
Right. You have your whole other influence peddling scheme. Like, why would you want to do this? Why at this point? I mean, why at any point? But you see what I'm saying? Like, it suggests a level of just, like, horrible criminality and rotten to the core sociopathy.
There's a psychological effect here that we need to learn that we need to come up with a better term for, or a new term for. It's the idea that it's almost like hiding in plain sight in a sense. It's the idea that, well, if you wear it all on your sleeve, then people can't even accuse you of X, Y, or Z. It's the Eminem trick in 8 Mile when he's like, yeah, my dick's small, or whatever the fuck he says when he does the whole rap.
I never watched that movie.
Well, he attacks himself to sort of nullify whatever his opponent would say. So if you lay it out there up front yourself, it's like, I'm not ashamed of this, I'm going to say it all, and then you got nothing to attack me for.
Right.
And there's an element of that in there too, right? It's like a psychological trick. Like, if I just tell you everything I'm doing and show you everything I'm doing, and I broadcast it to tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people, then there's some psychological thing to be like, well, I guess it must not be wrong because he's openly talking about it. If he'd be trying to hide it if it was actually a crime. But no, we just live in the era, guys, of the brazen criminal. That's what we live in, the era of the brazen scam artists.
Well, shame is a real signaling device for people,
Correct. And so if you show no shame, people go, oh, that's got to be okay.
If you're ashamed of something, then that's a signal, oh, they did something wrong and there's something underhanded that's going on here. But yeah, if you're literally like built this whole platform where you're actually bragging about your horrible, depraved criminal behavior, then you don't get that same shame signal. And so there isn't that just like instinctive, like, this person's doing something wrong.
Yeah, it's old political trick too. if you tell a lie bold enough and you tell it over and over and over and over again, it eventually becomes the duh position. Or at the very least, you move the conversation.
Yeah,
so,
Trump is good at this, obviously.
Trump's great at this, but also I think the best example of it was back during the Obamacare debate when the Republicans all settled on this line that, like, they're trying to kill your grandma. Like, they have death panels and they're trying to kill your grandma. And they repeat that over and over and over and over. And what happened was, even if the public didn't buy into that in particular, which some did, some, the right base may have, you moved the average person to like, well, I don't know if they're trying to kill my grandma, but obviously this thing can't be good because people are really talking about it like it's super fucked up. And so it's a psychological trick that works in many instances. But thankfully, the Romanian police were like, fuck you, because they were kind of they're making a joke of Romania, right? They were making a joke of Romania. And so maybe that was one of the reasons it sort of lit a fire under their ass. Like, fuck this guy coming in here.
Yeah, well, and who knows some of the reports are that he was just sort of trolling Instagram, from sending messages to any girl who looked hot on Instagram and seeing who would respond. So who knows whose daughter may have gotten a message from him too, where that official was like, fuck you, dude.
Oh, that's a great point. Yeah, because he probably thinks nothing of like non-Western women, you know what I mean?
This is a whole business. He's got to be on his grind set, going through Instagram and, recruiting new girls into the scheme.
Yeah, I forget the number he said, but the number of women that he had working for him at some point was preposterously high. It was ridiculous. It was like hundreds and hundreds of women. Anyway. All right, so there you have it. Agnosticism, no longer in the conversation. I think it's sort of an
He's
open and shut.
admitted to it himself.
It's an open and shut case.
Yeah.
Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.